just this one monthly meeting. We may fit in like a meeting for like an open meeting for new members that want to come talk, and maybe a meeting for more of like a business kind of networking or organizational kind of networking meeting. Totally open to some different ideas on that going in this meeting when we get to there. One thing, so if anyone's been watching the charts today, then we know that there's been like a bit of a pullback. Pretty normal if all of us are pretty used to crypto, being in the DAO space. So like we've seen this before, but one cool thing, and I just got out of a meeting about in UberHaus about kind of strategy stuff, but the cool thing about DAOs is we're not necessarily tied directly to the crypto markets, right? Like really we're building these organizations that actually kind of thrive in bear markets because we're builders, right? We're building teams, we're building networks, we're building these connections, and we're seeing like a longer term vision of where this DAO to DAO kind of economy can really flourish. And we're not so tied to like being on the moon all the time. The reality is that the crypto market moves in cycles, right? And so on the up cycles, we bring in new talent, we bring in new connections, we create these like new kind of frontiers of like organizations using on-chain collaboration tools. And so like if we are actually moving into a down cycle, it's actually something that isn't necessarily bad for us. It's actually something, we can focus on like building the future we want more, I think. And so, just to bring up that topic so we don't get like derailed later, I think that, we're in a good position no matter what, because it's just a good future where we can start seeing this future of work and future of organizations. So yeah, I think we've got probably everyone who's going to join is on now. So I'll hand it over to Bao to kind of walk us through our agenda.
Awesome. So thank you guys for coming. So basically there are a lot of different like things I want to cover in here, but we'll see how far we get, and I'll just go ahead and jump into it. So, first off, Sky recently wrote this kind of this forum piece on this Paladins Delegates circle, so Uber Paladins, and basically like we've kind of found out over the past month and a half, I think, that we need to have this circle of both delegates or members of other DAOs and DAOHaus contributors kind of working together to fulfill the needs inside of UberHaus. I know you guys kind of talked about operation stuff last meeting, so I'm not going to go through that in detail. And then like UberHaus delegates, I think this is super important to just cover this at the outset is, any of the things that are taking place within UberHaus or any updates that you hear by way of just like through DAOHaus and the different channels, like the better that you can circulate that with your members inside of your community or inside of your DAO, I think it'll like, I guess, bleed into the success of UberHaus overall. And hopefully that will also attract more contributors into this Uber Paladin circle, because it'd be really nice as like a contributor to DAOHaus and UberHaus to see like more members of different DAOs contributing to UberHaus specifically. Now,
can I ask a quick question?
Ahead. Yep.
How can only delegates be Paladins, or can any member be Paladin?
Great question. I think any member should be able to be a contributor and thus an UberHaus Paladin.
Perfect. Are we needing more paladins? Is there like a call out from our paladins that maybe we could circulate that in our DAOs?
Yeah,
The,
absolutely. I
The
think
Uber Paladin Circle will be a DAO in itself. So it's going to be started by, there's been like 4 or 5 or maybe more people, delegates that have shown interest and non-delegates. So it'll start there, and then yeah, it's up to that DAO like to bring on more people or to do whatever, or to you know, be paladins for other DAOs, or you know, if they get the strategy. So really, it's up to them.
Right, thanks.
So yeah, if anyone's interested in helping in that cause, doing ops, then go join.
right. And
How are these paladins getting funding?
yeah, so we haven't figured that out yet. This is kind of the revolving question, but and I don't know if this is 3 to 4K in house per month, because that's a hell of a lot per month. So maybe we should reevaluate this. But
3 to 4K US or die.
right.
House a month.
Cool. In-house. But yeah, I think what maybe we could do here is like just get some soft consensus on what we think about this idea. Like, does this sound like a fair ask? And are we open to UberHaus? Did I lose you guys?
Nope.
Are you guys, sorry, is UberHaus open to kind of funding this effort? Now, I think a big question is like, what are the deliverables? But we can kind of go through what we think those things are down here. And another piece of this is like, we obviously don't have all the delegates in here right now. So what I'm gonna try to do is like, I guess after this meeting, set up like an overflow meeting for the delegates who couldn't make this call, and take them through this kind of same agenda, and get them up to speed on all the things that have kind of taken place over the past month. And this kind of goes back in line with the initial question that we were talking about with Deacon, is just like having a more revolving meeting for UberHaus. So like this networking meeting, this kind of new DAOs meeting, and maybe like a more open meeting for like updates and stuff like that. So we can talk about that a little later on. For quick updates, we have I guess version 1 of UberHaus docs. So for any like DAOs or delegates that are in here right now who could use more direction, this hopefully will be able to provide that for you. Basically, the things that are in here that are specific to UberHaus or delegates, or UberHaus DAOs would be basically like looking at the members, looking at the proposal flow for UberHaus DAOs. So like, how do you propose something to the UberHaus DAO? And then you have like the different processes. This is all kind of static or exists across Moloch DAOs. And then you have like summon your DAO on XDAI. So that's like a little how to, and then like what it takes to become a member in UberHaus. So go to the forum, do all these things. And then like what the process is for electing a delegate, setting up a minion, pledging, processing, all that stuff. And then like what is governance mining? That's kind of what this is. And then you have like community stuff. This is where I'm hoping to share like more links in the future, or that like UberHaus can maybe have more meetings, and like more places where even maybe non-delegates can come and like get involved in some way. And that kind of, as it stands right now, is like house party, but it would be cool if like UberHaus had its own thing too. I don't know if it needs to. That's something you guys can figure out. But and then you have the kind of grants flow. So that's how this looks now. But I encourage all of you in your free time to go through, read this, and try to figure out like where there are like missing pieces or where improvements could be made. And also just like to think about like other ideas for, I guess, engaging DAOs and creating, I guess, like some documentation around that.
And the handbook really is going to be a living document, right? And same with the manifesto. And this is all hooked up with little edit buttons on the bottom of each page. So if you see even like a typo or spelling error, or if you want to propose that something is presented differently or more succinctly or anything like that, then just go ahead and make an edit.
Bang.
And so that's another thing maybe at some point we should talk about, is like how to kind of reward community engagement. We can talk about that at the end. One of a community member suggested doing like house tips. Being on XI, there's a lot of different options we could do for that, but we can talk about that maybe towards the end.
Yeah. So I was going to put more deliverables in here, but I don't think we have any yet. Felipe has been actively sweating on the designs. I think we'll have some pretty cool ones to show you soon. I don't know if, Felipe has come up with a couple that I've already liked and am interested in. So
that's the proposal we made for the UberHaus identity that passed last month. For that, they're getting the first 2-month payment of.
Right. So yeah, I'll get through here. So basically, we've had, I guess, 4 proposals over the past month. Sedge DAO was requesting 900 shares for 900 house. That one failed. Basically, takeaway from that is like, this is UberHaus showing resilience to a DAO platform that really isn't very transparent and doesn't have a lot on their website. Like they just had a Notion website build. And that's just my takeaway. Shenanigans DAO is like kind of this a DAO kind of created for fun, just for shits and giggles. They decided to request tribute 4House for 4 shares so they could participate in governance. I'm actually excited to see what comes out of these guys, because I like the idea of starting with like nothing and then trying to create something out of nothing when it's just a joke and a meme. So that'll be kind of cool. You can check out their DAO. I think here, this is the link.
Also, one thing to make clear here is there's also a Shenanigan DAO on XDAI, which is an Aragon DAO, but they've recently switched to DAO House. And so there's probably going to be another proposal from them to become a member. So we're going to have 2 Shenanigans. I don't know, we may want to have them change their names a little bit or something. I don't know.
Yeah, it's an interesting thought. Or just pay attention to how many shares they have in UberHaus.
Yeah.
And then Boost Foundry. So this is what Deacon was just mentioning. The first payout for the 2-month engagement has been made to Raid Guild. So you can view the details of that proposal here, but that one passed.
And just to make that a little clear, it's not actually to Raid Guild. It's
Collectivo DAO House Raid Guild.
Yeah, it's a kind of a joint effort. Again, another kind of sub DAO, this Boost Foundry, which will be working on identity at first, but in the long term will be more about Boost development. And so it'll be a lot of different members from all different kinds of projects.
And then Hero Bug Bounty, that was just a small thing requested for finding some, basically there's some bug in the parsing units. I'm not going to get into those details, but you can read about that.
That one is a good, sorry to keep injecting, I hope that's okay.
Yeah, no worries.
So this one, if you look at the Discord or the discourse link there, the forum link, there's been some comments about like how to handle these bugs. I mean, we definitely want to be paying out bug bounties and like supporting people that are getting active in the developer community.
Right.
Like, do we want
Hey, that's me.
a 3-week process of governance to give out 5 house? We may want to just let the DAO House core team have some allocation of house to pay for these kind of things.
Yeah, I think that's a really important point to iterate. And yeah,
Although we may be, the DAO House core team may be, with the price down a little bit on the red day, we may be buying some soon anyways for this kind of purpose, but a grant would probably be good, nice too, because House DAO actually doesn't have any house. It's all owned by UberHaus.
yeah, thanks for finding that, Joseph. Long time no see.
My pleasure.
Uber Paladin delegates. So this is kind of, I already covered this earlier, but just like circulating what we talk about here and within like the Uber delegates circle and the Paladin circle, like circulating that information into your DAO. I just kind of wrote a mission thing. This is kind of getting back into the vision of like what UberHaus wants to be. And this is something that I feel like still might not be defined. And I think that's okay. I think, UberHaus delegates are the ones who are supposed to be really like crafting this vision and this outlook for UberHaus. And, a big part of that is like, being able to organize, coordinate, and execute on behalf of your DAOs individually. So like, gosh, I feel like too much to unpack there. But basically, I would like to learn more about what the needs from different DAOs are on DAO House currently. So part of that kind of figuring that out would be, I put together this form, which I can't seem to find the link to, but it's basically just asking these questions that are highlighted here. And I think this is another piece that I would like to learn more about from delegates is like, how transparent do we want to be with the wider, I guess, like DAO House community and Web3 community? Do we want to communicate everything that's happening here to the wider ecosystem? Like this is a piece that I think would be really cool, even like for inter-DAO communications, is having like event listeners for the different DAOs on DAO House inside of their Discord. So like whenever specific interactions take place for a DAO you care about, you can get the direct line to what just happened. And I think there might even be a channel in Raid Guild right now where you can actually see like whenever a DAO House proposal, or sorry, like a House DAO, I think proposal is made. I might be mistaken about that, but I think this would be a really cool piece. And yeah, I don't know if I think like iterating on these ideas of like how can we be more transparent is like going to be an important one, but I'll leave that for the delegates to figure out.
I think this would be some good topics to open up the floor on and let people kind of.
Yeah, sure.
One of the things that I think would be really cool to incentivize is this kind of networking effect that we can create here. Like master connectors and the people that are like creating collaboration between our different groups. Like figuring out a way to help incentivize that, I think could be cool.
Yeah, I think that's I think that's like a major piece to like this DAO to DAO communications or like relations kind of thing, like being able to really figure out what the needs are of the different DAOs on our platform, and being able to share those in a way that's like super, I don't know, concise and easy for delegates, like of different DAOs. I think that would be like really, possibly like beneficial for all the DAOs on DAOHaus, because then we could like figure out this way to finally like kind of cross-pollinate our communities and be able to figure out like what are the issues you're having. Oh, we're having this issue. You guys help us here. We'll help you here. That kind of thing. Yeah, I'm not sure if that really fits under transparency, so I'm having a little mental block.
Spencer says yes to transparency.
Awesome.
I think, and that's really covered in that proposal to the Boost Foundry group, and really the Paladin group too. I think it'll be a little on both of them to create as much transparency as possible.
Absolutely. So yeah, I guess if that's already baked in, then we shouldn't be worried about it. I guess, yeah, that makes sense.
Well, I mean, but it does go down to the individual DAO level. Like how can the UberHaus's collective kind of voice broadcast and kind of boost the signal of all of our DAOs?
Right. I really like that. Do you think UberHaus is more like an a cappella or a choir?
Like one person singing at a time, or everyone singing at once?
Yeah, exactly.
Which one's which? I thought
I guess like, I think we're probably like an a cappella because we all have our own pitch and our own kind of melody, like between our different DAOs, but when they come together, it's an ensemble.
Well, a choir or an octet.
Octet, I like that.
Be what you're after or something like that.
Soloist or?
It's all harmonizing.
Yeah, harmonizing. I love that word. How do we harmonize?
Zynga.
You guys are getting very technical about melody.
What's up, Felipe?
So sorry I was late. I actually got carried away working on the idea of UberHaus. Sorry.
It's all right. I'm surprised I woke up this morning. I was up late doing that stuff too. Okay, well, let's see. Let's kind of continue going here. So this is another piece I had a question about, like basically like engagement requirements for like joining, really joining in UberHaus. I guess we kind of already laid those out. So that's kind of handled. Maybe I was thinking more along the lines of like, how does a contributor get like verified? I can't remember what I was thinking here, but I'll come back to it maybe later. Now these here are just kind of ideas for what I've had for, what UberHaus could do to like, set the tone early for, transparency and all this stuff. But basically, like, I would like to see this, and I would like to get some feedback from delegates here. What do we think of like having a catalog of DAOs that kind of sit on the UberHaus website, where like, I guess your community, your members, or even like communities external to UberHaus that are interested in joining can go and see like, oh, these are the DAOs currently operating on UberHaus. This is kind of their mission goals. This is like what they've done previously. This is like, oh, what their mission is in participating on DAOHaus and like achieving, collective benefits, all that stuff. And then like, I have this, like, this is kind of a similar piece, just like figuring out, this is more broad, but figuring out like, and communicating and conveying this message of like, I like this renaissance of community ownership and governance. Like that's what I think DAOHaus is creating and facilitating. And now it's just like trying to capture what that message really is across our different DAOs and being able to synthesize all of our kind of aligned objectives and goals between our platforms.
One thing that could be cool is starting a new channel in our, or we're using maybe one of the existing ones, but in our UberHaus category, which is like possible like news or information about your DAO as a delegate. You'd post about it, and then everyone else can help like signal boost it by retweeting or sharing with their communities or things like that.
Even a introduce your DAO kind of thing, right?
Yeah, so another thing that makes sense is kind of like an omni embassy that's one way that goes out from UberDAO and goes into the Discord channels of all of the underlying DAOs.
I think that's genius. That sounds dope.
Yeah, I agree. Either some sort of website or channel or something, just so that DAOs, one, UberHaus can connect with DAOs better, but two, the DAOs in UberHaus can, share what they're up to, what challenges they're facing, what victories they've won, so we can collectively like pump and help each other.
Should be able to do that with just like channel, the Discord interlinking stuff, following of channels or whatever.
Can that become a boost? Like you click here and you get UberHaus notifications in a bot.
Yeah, that's a cool idea.
So that's an interesting topic related to what Val had mentioned earlier. So this is like, what's the technology solution that allows all the DAOs that are part of UberHaus to like interact with and help each other? But at the same time, this meeting like is just delegates of DAOs that have shown up to like participate today, right? And the delegates should go back and like report important information back to their DAO and say like, UberHaus needs these things, but is there one big place where like everyone from all of the DAOs that are part of UberHaus like are all in the same channel together? And it's a very like easy place for anyone in that entire ecosystem to see what UberHaus or DAOHaus like needs help with, and then people can like just figure that out on their own without even counting on their delegate of their DAO.
Do we need our own Discord for UberHaus?
Yeah, I think of how scalable is that, especially as the number of DAOs grow. I don't know if that's very scalable. I think that's the whole point of delegates, right? So we don't have 100 people from each DAO trying to talk in the same channel. I don't know.
Yeah, I really don't think ideally we want another Discord server to have to go to and pay attention to.
Yeah, I agree with that. It makes sense to just have it contained in the DAOHaus server.
If you wanted to,
Okay, but where does
permission?
Currently, where does someone who's in one of these DAOs who is not the delegate but is interested in contributing to UberHaus, how do they do that today?
On Lexdale, I've been sharing this in a delegate channel and asking for feedback essentially. So I've been doing it as the delegate.
That's a really good point though, Sky.
I guess the Paladins is one.
If we set up an announcement channel for this purpose in DAOHaus and then tell every other DAO to subscribe to updates for that channel, then we just have a, we're broadcasting into their Discord servers. That's one way to solve this for anybody on Discord. We just need to make sure we put, whatever updates we're considering the sort of outgoing transparency stuff into those channels.
Oh, you mean like those connected?
Yeah, like you can follow a channel from somebody else's Discord server.
Okay. Yalda, what were you saying?
Hey everyone. Hi. I'm just trying to figure out how I can be a good delegate here. And I popped into the meeting, and I guess there was one a month ago, but I think I'm just this seems more like a operational core meeting versus like a delegate meeting. What I would expect of a delegate meeting. It seemed to be getting into the weeds right now, and maybe need to better understand for delegates that only have the time to pop into these meetings or read one document a month, how can we participate or 1 hour a week, what my request is, please make it easier for me to participate and contribute, as someone that might have 1 hour a week. Because right now, I don't know, I'm reading all of this and it just seems very overwhelming, and I don't even know how to get started. And there are all these ideas for, what can we do for other DAOs and this and that. And I'm like, well, I think one thing you can do is maybe first let's just I have a complaint that this is confusing before we try to do other things integrate Discords and all of this. I don't know, can we just actually just talk about this, the governance and process of how things are working? Because I feel like maybe it's a bit confusing, and I can't kept up to date with Discords. Something I'm starting now in Moloch DAO is sending a monthly digest. And I think that whenever I had a member meeting and people were like, thanks for sending this monthly thing, I don't pay attention to Discord. I'm like, yeah, it makes sense. I think that's the thing. It's that's going to be the problem with every Discord and all these communities. I think people are they can't keep up with it. That's what UberHaus can solve.
So I hear that Discord not good for you. That's fair.
Yeah.
The document on the
how
screen
do we use
right now,
UberHaus?
so
can I go to UberHaus for the DAO and I have everything I need there? And that would be ideal.
Okay. Yeah.
Thanks, Yalda. That's awesome.
Yeah, I second Yalda's. I mean, I'm even more involved, and I second Yalda's opinion that these delegate meetings should be kind of high level governance and proposal and process focused. And then getting into the weeds on how to execute stuff, that should probably go to the paladins of UberHaus. And if it seems really contentious, they can bring it to the delegates meeting to get our input on what the best way to implement communications are. But I kind of trust the paladins to do that piece, and would prefer that these meetings be saved for kind of dealing with some high level governance proposals, longer term goals, etc.
So I think this is important because I think the transparency of being able to allow delegates to participate in deciding on some of the stuff is it's important. So going back to the point of splitting these meetings up into one, you have this kind of updates meeting that's more higher level for delegates to attend if they want, or basically that's the one that they would have to attend in the month. And then maybe 2 other meetings for new DAOs joining, and then this more deeper call where delegates can get involved in the underlying operations that are taking place with Uber Paladins.
Well, I think like you just said, splitting is maybe maybe we need to start a step further back. The only reason to talk about this communications thing that we're talking about right now is, to y'all, this question: what works for everyone in here for making sure that we are I even know when the meeting is? Because I was off by an hour today, which is fine for how I block my mornings, but doesn't work for anybody with a tight schedule. Email newsletter, does that work for everybody? there's no point like digging in on how do we connect discords if, like y'all just said, she's not on Discord.
Well, and to Yelda's, like, I think secondary point, like, if there are people who are still clued out about like what actually the best way to contribute is, or what the, like the low touch way to contribute is, like these meetings should be a way for us to rope people back in, be like, boom, here's a quick update. Here's some things we've done, and here's things we're looking to do in the future. Does this interest you? Are you for or against these things? And then like publish that as a notes, you know, a digest. Like, this is what we talked about. These were some of the decisions we made. And people catch up like asynchronously.
Yeah.
If it needs to be done and there's no one like who can do it, I'm happy to participate in that and put something together that I can share to people in an email newsletter, or to your point. And then calendar invites. Like for me, calendar invites are very essential. This wasn't on my calendar. I don't, maybe it's my fault, but like I like y'all to make it easier for me to come so I know when it's happening.
That's definitely not your fault. This was like a last minute scramble to like get this UberHaus Delegates meeting on the calendar. So we, you know, from here on forward, it's going to be the third Wednesday of every month. And that's not going to change unless delegates want that to change. But I agree, calendar invites are important. So I don't know.
I think we get the calendar in the handbook too, that people can reference and add to their calendars and stuff.
Yeah, we'll do that.
But yeah, what I would add is like it's incumbent on us, or you know, the Paladins, I guess, to make sure that the links to get caught up on this stuff are available and that have explained it clearly. But also, I can't promise that there won't be homework to do if somebody wants to catch up on the ideas for how governance works inside of UberDAO.
Right.
We spent a shitload of time talking about that out in public because it's part of the pitch for what brings everybody here for the value of house and things like that.
And that's why the handbook.
There's a balance.
That's why the handbook exists.
There's going to be some homework.
Kurt.
I can't promise no homework, right?
I mean, that's why this is here. Like,
yeah.
So come here, learn about how governance is taking place, learn about how to participate. Like, I know it's more to read, but it's better to be caught up on it than, you know, feeling like you're kind of being disowned. Or
we could find ways to make it easier. People want to do videos or whatever, but
so I'm definitely into the idea of having this like short digestible videos that can be consumed at the moment of need, instead of having things feel a little bit like a chore. But it's also fine for delegates to self-define their like level of involvement, and if we have 10% of the delegates knowing most of the things, it should give us enough like herd knowledge to move things along. We're just learning how to walk together now live. And I also think that these meetings should be recorded, not necessarily streamed. We had the joke of making the DAO C-SPAN thing, but
guys, I just want to point something out. Stellar Magnet doesn't have the role that allows her into the delegate channel. So there's no way for her to be up to speed on what we're doing.
Why doesn't she have the role?
Well, it's because the Moloch DAO's delegate is still set to Vitalik. And then I've been actually trying to, we're going to organize a vote, and I'm sending an email newsletter out soon about this situation so we can actually formally nominate a delegate. So I wasn't sure if I should just, since I'm in the process of sending an email newsletter to say we should like actually take this seriously, like do more people want to nominate so we can do the election before I actually become formally on chain the delegate. So that's one thing I'm about to send a newsletter out to Moloch DAO more about this DAO House delegation situation and see if other people will self-nominate, and then we'll do an election and we'll figure it out basically by June, like who our official delegate would be. So that might be one reason why I can't see everything, because everything's all connected to verifying stuff and I have not verified.
I've added the role onto you, and I mean, we don't have to live and die by on-chain data, but that's awesome that you're
I'm like the de facto delegate now.
So that does bring up like a good kind of bug in the system, and probably like harkens back a little bit to the transparency stuff of things like the handbook and the digest and like monthly newsletters should just all be emailed, but also like hosted on some Substack or Medium where anybody can find it.
Just be public, the updates about what
Yeah.
we're doing. Yeah.
Right. That way we don't run into a situation where a DAO is in the middle of switching delegates or, you know, their delegate disappeared and they need to send a new one. And yeah, like Deacon said, we can't live and die by the on-chain necessarily.
We're people.
Yeah, thanks. I'm sorry. I think that that handbook, I didn't even know like it was in process or anything. So yeah, I think a link to that would be cool and helpful. Another thing that I've been working on in Moloch DAO is also a handbook. We haven't shared it publicly on Twitter yet, but it is a public link, which might be an interesting reference too for some of these situations before, like you're saying, should we really be doing DAO votes for House? No, there should be operational multi-sig setup and get that shit going, you know? Like, so I think if you read the Moloch handbook, it might actually be useful for some of the UberHaus processes, maybe, because it's just through experience of trying to get shit working, essentially, governance-wise.
That's basically what the Paladins, so it's an operational DAO, right, with much tighter trusted group of people and shorter voting periods. So it's the same thing. Like
Yeah, sorry. I'm trying to figure out also, I'm not used to this like Discord meetings thing. So if I want to send something in chat, like where do I send that link?
In the chat that you're not able to access. But you can send whatever you want.
You should be able to see it now. It's in the Delegates channel.
Okay.
So also the other way for you to become acting delegate, and I phrase this as a question, would you guys think it's okay, for example, the acting delegate or the auto delegate delegates his delegation to Yalda? So if Vitalik goes, hey, Yalda is my acting delegate, that could be as effective or more effective than going through a vote. Unless there's contention.
For which process?
For you to like receive his blessing to act as the delegate directly.
I mean,
I think that, you know, like should I just be it before we do this vote? I think that's more of like a personal preference thing. I think that the DAO is probably fine with it because there was like a message sent in Discord, some notifications. Nobody really said anything, but then like in this process of doing all this, like the main reason also like why I haven't been able to just keep up with everything is because of this just serious governance work I've been trying to work through for Moloch DAO and to get our grants pipeline moving. So it's just been chaos. So that's also why I've just been like, okay, I don't actually know, just waiting around, and then maybe I'll just wait until we actually just do votes and everything, because I don't even know how much time I have, you know? So until like this like grant wave is over that we're experimenting with, essentially.
Once a month and talk to people.
Yeah, I think I was here a month ago, and that's it. Now I'm here again.
Yeah, and I think this kind of raises two important points. One, the on-chain delegate's just important for voting on behalf of your DAO. So if you're the on-chain delegate, you can vote your DAO shares, otherwise you can't. But that doesn't necessarily mean the person who participates in the meeting has to be the on-chain delegate. Second, I think this is a great example of DAOs sharing knowledge, and probably why these meetings are useful and why we want to create some sort of open forum. Because if Yalda's been doing a ton of work on like how to fix the governance around Moloch, which is really the OG grant giving DAO, and we're trying to be, you know, a grant giving ecosystem DAO for the DAO House ecosystem. That's important learnings that we should be sharing, and having a like channel to do that is kind of like another, I think, important initiative.
Yeah, happy to share the knowledge.
Yeah, it's kind of like this piece of like being able to communicate information like from UberHaus to individual DAOs, and then from those individual DAOs back to UberHaus when it's relevant. And I think like in this case, it's super relevant. Like I've been creating a lot of this documentation for DAOHaus and UberHaus, and I know we have a lot of contributors in here. And I think like these learnings are super important. So how do we like figure out a way for people to be like better able to share those things through a chat or through a channel where it doesn't get like clogged up? And I don't know if there is a way. Maybe it is this like Reader's Digest or like this newsletter thing that goes out from individual DAOs that can capture like these smaller bits that are super important.
Yeah, so this is all great for the Paladins, which is the ops team, right? To take some notes. And
yeah, I think that you know, in like writing and working through this governance stuff, and you start to like learn, you know, the different things that are needed, and eventually it's like, well, all of these learnings should go back into the tool to make the tool better. So yeah, I think that you know, it starts to get annoying to operate a DAO, and you're like, I need Typeform and Airtable and Notion and this and MailChimp and blah blah blah. So it's like in my head, I'm like, if there's just one platform that does that all, that helps a lot of things. But it's like, is DAOHaus that platform, or is it something different? But it's like that's like something that I think DAOs need, because it's kind of ridiculous how you have to use all of these tools as a DAO, but then like this like access control around them, it's all like weird, you know? So I think that that's like the greatest problem whenever it comes to DAOs, is our reliance on all these like centralized tools and how that doesn't work with the permission framework of DAOs, you know? So that's just another, so yeah, I think that the things that, you know, we start doing and using, I would like the recommendation I would make is just like figure out, well, what's the easiest next thing to add to DAOHaus. I mean, Moloch DAO can't use DAOHaus because it's not V1 compatible, and we have to get our DAO participating in governance before deciding to upgrade and rage quit. But you know, maybe at some point that would happen. But yeah, so that's just kind of my perspective on some things right now. But yeah, governance participation, that's like the greatest issue, and Discord fatigue is real, and it happens, and there are too many Discords, and like if this is gonna work, like for Ethereum or for anything, I think that like having votes every week, it's not really a sustainable system. So that's why if you read the Moloch DAO handbook, we're actually just kind of like, hey, let's just do votes 4 times a year. Maybe if we get better at like real participation, you can do monthly, but you can't really do rolling and expect everyone to pay attention and read everything. So that's just like one thing that I think a lot of DAOs like are getting wrong, because it doesn't really work. If we're gonna have like, if we want to create an ecosystem and you want people to participate in the governance, people can't keep up with all these communities every week and vote on everything. So that's one of these the learnings, as far as like, if we actually want people to vote, participate, read proposals, I don't think reading proposals every week is going to work. Voting every week is going to work. So how do you make that easier for delegates? Make them only vote, you know, once a month max, maybe 4 times a year, ideally. Yeah.
Yeah.
4 times a year.
Another thing I kind of want to point out is, you know, source cred can be used in a lot of different ways to benefit this kind of endeavor. You know, like you're saying, having people vote once a week is not, it's there's a lot of friction involved in it. It takes a lot of effort to get something done when people have to vote every week. But if you have source cred, it just makes it really easy, because anyone can vote at any time to just kind of say, yeah, I think this is valuable. And you know, we don't necessarily need to distribute token rewards or anything, but I think that it's definitely worth considering. Also, I believe they're adding tools for integrating with social media. Is anyone here more familiar with source cred?
Yeah, from what we've successfully been able to use it for, we tried it pretty heavily in the foundations program in House DAO when we were building DAOHaus. You know, the social media integration is more about like at least as far as I imagine, is more effective for, I don't know, like promote, like influencer bounties or whatever. The Discord one was handy in foundation style for trying to gauge sort of participation, but we still had the social hurdle of needing to teach people that emojis have real value inside the system. Otherwise, it's like, if you go by like message frequency, it's pretty easy to spam, just talk a lot. You know, source credit doesn't know if what you said is good, helpful or not.
Yeah, and it requires a lot of like configuration and maintaining, which we had trouble with at Raid Guild.
And I think before we get down to the tools level, we really should focus on kind of like the process and governance level, and then see if we can find or have to build tools to meet our needs.
Yeah,
because
you know, really, we're probably, it's like the meeting just should run like a board meeting essentially, right? Like we just kind of need to lay out what the agenda needs to be for. I mean, I think that's what you're saying before, right?
Right, and I think, you know, that's the point that Yalda's been making and others has, is like, you know, if you look at political systems, most of them have outsourced decision-making to either elected officials or dictators, because people like can't keep up with making decisions for complex systems all that frequently. DAOs are, you know, a really good and interesting experiment in pushing against that like trend that's been happening for the past like couple hundred years, at least in terms of representative democracy. And so, you know, we do need to make it easy and make it more like probably a board meeting, in the sense that it's really, these meetings for delegates are about setting strategic priorities, voting on, you know, discussing proposals. And I totally agree that like a monthly proposal like cadence is the right way to go. That way, you know, we can all, like if you were on a board, you would review the proposals that are going to be put up for a vote. If you want to, you would then discuss them at this meeting, and then you would vote at the meeting, and then, or you would talk about how you think you're going to vote, and then you'd vote sometime after the meeting. But then the second part of the meeting would be focused on kind of strategic priorities, what, you know, knowledge sharing, and what the needs of the community are, or gaps. And I think kind of keeping the meeting pretty tight to, you know, like proposals, and then, yeah, strategic priorities, and then just kind of like general needs and how can I help?
For possible grantees or whatever, you know.
Yeah, right,
Stuff
like
that's
that.
the back half, I feel like.
Yeah, that's like a good way of doing it. And I think like, you know, Yillers, and I don't know if Sydney's here, and they've done a good job at the metacartel level of kind of imposing that sort of structure. You know,
we try. It's the consistency that's key, right? Like, right, being there, like someone do the things. Like, it's hilarious. And many people tell me like, "Oh, thanks for the reminder. The meeting's happening." Like, the meetings always happen.
That's why we got to fund the paladins.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So I think wrap up then today, since we're out of time, although it's been a lot of fun, so we have this call to action and the strategic goal basically to make this governance process very easy and transparent. We're going to fund this ops group, the paladins, to button everything up and make sure that everything's working. So that's our next steps. And if anyone else has some closing ideas, then I think this was really good to highlight those issues today.
Yeah, and thanks for everyone's feedback.
Funding that ops group sounds like a great idea. Yeah.
And just really quickly, like the funding, will that come from a separate bucket of house that's for those type of things? Like, what is that from, Deacon?
Well, so our uncirculating supply of houses in vault. It's like in an external account that's controlled by the DAO through proposals, but not rage quittable. So we can either fund directly from that, or we can fund from our main treasury as a DAO proposal, and then pay ourselves back once a quarter. But that's kind of in the weeds. I think that's something we should probably explore there.
Yeah, I'd say just to keep things simple, we should do a proposal from the vault, from the undistributed house, and put that into the Uber Paladins DAO.
Yeah, I just don't like that it's not tied directly to our main treasury. When we're making proposals against main treasury, we're diluting ourselves, and because we're giving away some of our house, but we could pay it back eventually. I mean, when we make proposals from our vault, we're diluting ourselves against the greater market because we're releasing more supply into the market. But yeah, I don't know.
Definitely sounds like more of in the weeds scenario, but maybe through more discussion we can
clear the async discussion there for sure.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like that's an important governance thing to sort out. Like I would figure out, like, just write out whatever you're thinking, put it in the handbook as like what you think should be done, and then maybe be like, oh, we added this here, and then that's how other people can consume it or respond to it. But I think it should definitely be in the handbook for where that financial source is.
Yeah,
I think forum discussion and then handbook, but that's just my take.
Yeah, I mean, I guess if there's the near-term way of however it works that should be documented, right? And then forum discussion to make it better. So I guess it's a question of if that's going to be blocking funding in the near term, right?
Right. That makes sense.
Cool. Well, awesome. Thank you everyone for joining, and we're like Felipe said, together. So this is going to be it's a great experiment, and it was a great meeting and some of this feedback.
And on my side, I'm trying to provide a landing page for us to be able to pile up our learnings at a nice, cozy spot as fast as we can.
Yeah, that'll be much appreciated.
Right. Yeah, thanks for the meeting, and I definitely love a calendar invite for the future ones too. So if there's a way to submit email addresses or whatever.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
If you guys could just like DM me your emails, that would probably be the easiest way. Otherwise, I don't.
Bao, I've got a bunch of people's emails, so I'll wrangle it for you, and then the rest.
Perfect.
DMs, okay.
Sounds good. And then,
all right, guys. Thanks, everyone.
I recorded this meeting, so I'll drop the recording for that inside of the Delegates channel, so you can share it with your lovely communities. Okay, peace out, fam. What's up, Boo?
Sorry, can I call it like in 20? Because I'm finished.
Yeah.
Actually, as I was in the meeting, I'm still in the design process. And
I gotta take a piss anyway. So.
He has to go in a little bit.
No,
so
no, I got all day, brother.
Him,
I got all day. I got all day. We'll talk.
I guess we'll just kick off really quickly and just say this is a kind of if you joined our non-technical call the other days, probably along the same lines, where we just wanted to see the kind of skill set everyone has, or even if you're non-technical, kind of, I don't know what your interest is. It's always good if you're interested in a cleric or a monk type role to know some of the people that have technical skills and that they're available. That'll start to like make a little more sense. Maybe just to kick off, and I know we did this, but just for one more time, since we have Deacon and Joseph and Bao, some folks from the guild, Lucas, just so that they know who everyone is, what their skill sets are. Just a quick introduction. We'll go down the line, and then maybe you can just say like what your role is, if you're technical, like